Let me explain a little bit more about the oxygen transport and hemoglobin. In previous chapters, you are including in this chapter, you learn about the hemoglobin, how the hemoglobin molecule is composed, how oxygen attach with the hemoglobin, and all these topics that I'm not going to repeat right now. But I want to be focused specifically in how oxygen is transported and how it's related with hemoglobin. Now, the abbreviation for hemoglobin is this one, so you have to be familiar with this abbreviation, this anachronism, because in the test, most likely is the one that I'm using, that anachronism for hemoglobin. Now, you read something very important in the book and you listen in the video, the previous video, that hemoglobin can produce loading or unloading of oxygen. And also you read about another terminology that is hemoglobin affinity or not affinity. And let me combine this in these two words, loading and affinity, with the topic of hemoglobin. Now, you are aware that the exchange in gases happen only at the capillary levels. I'm talking about oxygen. So oxygen can be exchanged from in and out of the capillaries, either at the alveoli capillaries, the one that are surrounding, are really wrapping very densely the alveoli, and the capillaries that are systemic capillaries, that are all over the body and also called tissue capillaries. Now, what happens in any single of those? Obviously, our body doesn't produce oxygen. We need to intake oxygen from the air. In the air, we have at the sea level, we have an average of 21% in the air that we breathe in, that contain 21% contain is oxygen. At the alveolus capillaris, and I took the time to make this graphic. This graphic represents the erythrocyte, and this little balloon represents the alveoli. Obviously, you have to consider that the diffuse of carbon dioxide or oxygen at the alveoli is passing three membranes that are from the simple squamous epithelium in the alveoli, passing into the interstitial fluid. The interstitial fluid gets into the second layer of the cell membrane, that is the capillary by itself, and the third membrane, cell membrane, is the erythrocyte by itself. So this one is the passage or the pathway of oxygen from the alveoli, diffuse through the simple squamous epithelium into the interstitial fluid, and from the interstitial fluid diffuse through the simple squamous or the capillary in the around the alveoli, and from that capillary jump into the erythrocyte, also diffusing through the cell membrane of this erythrocyte. Now, in order to make it simple, I make just the two structures, just the alveoli and the erythrocyte. Now, always keep in mind that the gases move, and it's a physical movement of any gas, that the gases move from higher concentration to lower concentration by diffusion. In our body, the gases diffuse from higher concentration to lower concentration. That is one of the most pure passive movement through the cell membrane. That is diffusion. Now, in terms of the gases, in the book, you will read on and on and on. Instead of concentration, you read pressure, because that concentration represents also a pressure. In other words, when we just breathe in, we fill the alveoli with a really high pressure of oxygen. How is produced is the mechanism of breathing that is explained in the previous video. But certainly, after we breathe in, that alveoli has a high concentration of oxygen. And this hemoglobin, the one that is coming from the tissues, this one is inside the alveoli. Where this alveoli is coming from? Remember, we are at the alveoli capillaries. So this erythrocyte is coming from the tissues, from the systemic capillaries, where they dump all the possible oxygen in all the tissues and getting back into the lungs to recharge again with oxygen. So what we are carrying inside the alveolus capillaris is deoxyhemoglobin. And at the capillaries, at the alveolus capillaris, that hemoglobin is totally empty. I mean, not totally empty, but 90% of the hemoglobin is totally empty. Remember, we have 280 millions of hemoglobin in one erythrocyte. And if any single of them are coming with 90% empty, maximum is 4 oxygens per one hemoglobin molecule. If that hemoglobin is coming with 90% empty, that one is absolutely beautiful scenario to accept the oxygen that is passing from higher concentration to lower concentration in plasma, because this hemoglobin is the deoxyhemoglobin. Now, when the oxygen jumps into the erythrocyte, is bonded immediately with the hemoglobin, and is the reason why convert that hemoglobin into oxyhemoglobin again. Now, let me explain what I keep over here in order for you to visualize. I mentioned that the increase of oxygen inside the alveoli increase loading or affinity, the hemoglobin loading or affinity with oxygen and transform it in hemoglobin. Now, why is the loading is increased? And frankly, if you have to visualize these two words, loading and affinity, they are matching together, because this hemoglobin that gets into the alveolus capillaris pretty much empty of oxygen now has the condition to have more affinity because they have more room to accept more oxygen. That one is one. And the other one is facilitating the loading based on the difference of pressure from the alveoli and in the plasma. Another reason is that oxygen is a gas that is not really very easy to be dissolved in water, that is the main component of plasma. And because of that, need more carrier than carbon dioxide. And because of that, most of the oxygen is transported in hemoglobin. And it's a really large average, between 80 to 85%, the oxygen that we inhale, breathe in, is transported in hemoglobin. Now, I hope you understand that I match these two words, loading and affinity is, in this case, are matching together, because the oxygen in the alveoli increase the loading and affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen and transforming in oxyhemoglobin. Now, with this erythrocyte totally full and with oxyhemoglobin, from the lungs get back into the heart using the pulmonary veins, get into the left atrium, from the left atrium to the left ventricle, and the left ventricle by systole is pushing that oxyhemoglobin inside the erythrocyte, blood out, to the systemic circuit. Within the systemic circuit, is swimming, swimming, swimming until they reach the capillaries. And capillary we have head to toes all over the body. Now, when this systemic, the same erythrocyte that right now is oxyhemoglobin, the oxyhemoglobin reach the systemic capillaries. And I make that graphic over here because the scenario changed a little bit. Now, at the systemic capillaries, the oxygen levels in the tissues or decrease the oxygen levels in the tissues because it's pretty much what is happening. Regardless if the tissue is exposed to high metabolic activity, medial metabolic activity, or low metabolic activity, it doesn't matter. That tissue needs to produce ATP in more amount, in medium amount, or really very low amount, but the tissue are always in need of oxygen. And when I'm talking about tissues, I'm talking about cells. Now, this is a scenario by which we increase the unloading of oxygen and decrease the hemoglobin, decrease the affinity with oxygen, transforming this oxyhemoglobin into the oxyhemoglobin because it's dumping all the possible oxygen that they have inside the tissues. And I take the time to make that graphic. I hope that you can read it properly. But this will represent the represent the erythrocyte in the capillary surrounded by the tissues. Obviously, the erythrocyte is inside the capillary, and the same thing. The gas have to diffuse the three membranes. The membrane of the erythrocyte, the membrane of the capillary, and the membrane of the any single cell around that tissue. Now, what happened? We have oxyhemoglobin over here, so we have the hemoglobin bonded with oxygen. Now, because again, gases move from higher pressure to lower pressure, and because this erythrocyte is charged with the maximum amount of oxygen, with all the amount of erythrocyte, the pressure of oxygen is higher inside the capillary than in the interstitial fluid. And because of that, facilitate the unloading. Now, gas is moving from higher pressure to lower pressure. Always the interstitial fluid because it's a bridge. It's just an intermediate step to reach the target. The target is the cell. Now, we facilitate, increase the unloading based on the difference of pressure between these two places. But also this hemoglobin decrease the affinity with oxygen based on the same principle. Decrease the affinity, leave that hemoglobin without oxygen or pretty much empty of oxygen, and at the time is leaving the tissue, the hemoglobin is converted in the oxyhemoglobin, and the circuit starts all over again over there. Now, I want to emphasize that the unloading, and you read something about in the book about the effect of exercise and how that unloading or loading can be facilitated. During exercise, when we are exposed to exercise, there are two conditions. One condition is that definitely our body, and especially that in skeletal muscle, but in general, the whole body, increase the temperature, the internal temperature. That's why we sweat and we produce vasodilation in the skin. But certainly, increased temperature is increasing the Bohr effect because temperature is one of the conditions by which the gases can be more easily dissolved in a liquid than in cold temperature are more easy to be dissolved, and in high temperature are not easy to be dissolved. And the other condition is the accumulation of carbon dioxide in these tissues. Higher exercise, higher metabolic activity. Higher metabolic activity, that cells need more oxygen and that cells produce more carbon dioxide. And is one of the reasons why the unloading of oxygen increase at the systemic capillaries during exercise. Why? Because there is increase on carbon dioxide that is really that increase the carbon dioxide means that cells proportionally need more oxygen. And also the increase of the temperature facilitates the burn effect. And I hope this video help you to be or to understand easily that these two concepts, that is loading and unloading, affinity or not affinity with hemoglobin.